Guess what? It's episode 27 in the Game of Names. And this one happens to be representing the question mark, so it's based, generated, and grouped. It's going to be about people who do very unique things, generating and grouping. Let's just jump right in. Our first individual may be a name that some don't know, but he is a writer, and he is the author of a well-known book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. Now, understand that a lazy man, just take that into consideration, and how magical and childish, yet wonderful it is when you see people that vibrate with their names in such a way that you can speak it and it makes sense. The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment by Thaddeus Stanley Golas. That he is goalless. The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. That as you are. That am that I am. That he is. That Deus. Enlightenment. Goalless. Lazy man. You have to see that. Goalless. Like lazy, les. Golas. As in Lazarus. But now, we'll just break down his full name. Thaddeus, plus or to any, here, active, upon itself, or dia, so it would be to and from itself upon itself. And then expressing, underlying or unit, subject. Plus here, active, to and from itself upon itself, expressing its unit, subject. That is Thaddeus. Stanley. Subject plus active notion as it lies, expressing vital identity. Okay. So he's writing. He's a tool. That he is. Stanley, like the tools. Not like a bad thing. I don't mean a tool, as people use as derogatory. I'm just saying Stanley, the tool name. And then goalless. Generated group, ongoing, ling or as it lie, active subject. So that he is. Stanley. He himself, as his own tool. The Lazy Man's Guide to what? Enlightenment. Goalless. See how simple yet childish and amazing all this stuff is. And then when you add his birthday to it, which is June 15th, 1924, first of all, you know that 24 is X, but then his birth is June, which is 6, form, force, or familiar. 15 is actively expressing AE, or just O, as in 15, ongoing. So it's his form, force, or familiar, ongoing. Subjected, 19, 24, center. So just be yourself. That he is. Goalless. Try less. Go less. Goalless. It's his name. And that's what he's well known for throughout time. That really is how this whole thing works. We're all timeless. We just have to be beings in time in order to leave memory for the next time we do it. Over and over and over. And we're learning every time. Anyway, next. Our next person happens to be a brain disorder specialist by the name of Daniel Gregory Amen. Now, if you ever heard of Amon's horn, which is part of your brain, or just amen, or knowing that men is mind, or can represent the mind, men. So we have amen, or of the mind, and he is a brain disorder specialist named Daniel Gregory. Now remember, Gregory, to aggregate, but it's just Greg. So we have dia, active, notion, identified, expressing as it lie. Gregory, generated in grouped reference, expressing, generated in grouped ongoing reference, vitally identified, amen, active, manifested, expressed, notion. So if you put that all together, that's a brain disorder specialist. And then showing how our date of birth really keys in on it even more. Just behold, if you will. July 7, which is G, generated and grouped. 19, which is subject or actively identified. 19, AI or S. 1954 is to actively identify or the subject. 54 is expressing dia, to and from. So expressing through their brain. And it's July 19th, which is generated in grouped subject, expressing through. And he's a brain disorder specialist named Daniel Gregory Amen. Next, we have an American literary humorist and a California author named Prentice Mulford. Now just simplify it and say pre, P-R-E, notion, plus identified, unseen concept, but constant to itself, express. Prentice, not apprentice, just prentice. Mulford, like to mull forward, but Mulford. So it's the manifest, underlying, as it lie, form, force, familiar, ongoing reference to or from. Prentice, I didn't do that yet, so we'll do it in order. So it'll be place, piece, or potential reference, expressed notion, plus identified, constant to itself, expression, manifest unit as it lie, form, force, familiar, ongoing, reference, dia, to or from. And he's a person who is pivotal in the development within the New Thought movement. Prentice, Mulford, to pre-notion plus identified concept express. And he's New Thought movement. Prentice, Mulford. See how cool that is when you actually see that these are living people, and you can look it up in history and see that this does make sense. And then when you apply it to his date of birth, April 5th, 1834, it's 4, dia, to and from, 5, expression, 18, which is reference or active here, 3, which is constant or unseen to itself, and the 10th spot, 34, making dia. So it's constant to itself, dia. New Thought movement. See how awesome it really is. That's Prentice Mulford. To follow these people up, just to show you by changing the tiniest little things and tweaking it the tiniest little bit, date-wise and name-wise, it makes a different person with a background that is similar, but completely different in its own way. Now this individual, John C. Lilly, John Cunningham Lilly, born January 6, 1915. He's a neuroscientist, psychoanalyst, psychonaut, physician, philosopher, writer, inventor. All kinds of stuff to do with waves and brain waves. You can look into it, and I suggest you do. It's really cool stuff. John C. Lilly, junction, ongoing, here, notion, or intense, ongoing, here, notion. John Cunningham, unseen but constant to itself, underlying or unit, two ends, in space, identified notion, generated and grouped, here, active manifestation. So Cunningham, and then Lilly, as it lies, identified, as it lies between two L's upon itself, vitally identified. Do you see how he's a neuroscientist, psychoanalyst, psychonaut, the Lilly waves, all kinds of crazy stuff. The Telly, the Lilly, you'll see it, how these things all tie together, and it's Lilly Broadcasting and all those names that tie together and make so much more sense when you think of when you live in La La Land and quit lollygagging and Lollapalooza and all those kind of things. You end up understanding that names that have resonations with those kind of words end up making sense more when you understand the universal word. And it applies to everything. It's not to be silly, because Lilly isn't silly, but it rhymes. Do you see how he's somebody who worked with radio waves and all that kind of deeper stuff, the isolation chambers and things like that? So that's John C. Lilly. And his birthday being January 6, 1915, is January, which is 1, activation or active. 6 is form, force, or familiar. And then 1915 is subject, active, expressed, or subject, ongoing. So it's like the waves here in this space, as it lies identified between two L's, vitally identified. Lilly. See how it's just spot on. Bam. That's all I can say about it. Bam. This man is quite an interesting one, as many of them are. But he happens to be the founder of Waste Management. His name is Harry Wayne Huizenga Sr. If you had something that you were going to throw away, it would be sent away. It would be Huizenga. Here, active, referenced upon itself, vitally identified. Plural, active, vitally identified, notion expressed. Here, unit identified, from one side to the other, expressed notion generated and grouped, active. So if you had something here and you were done with it and you wanted to throw it away, his name is Harry Wayne. So you had it here, and you throw it away, notion expressed. Huizenga is almost like the word hoist, H-U-I, and then instead of H-O-I-S-T, it's H-U-I-Z, way higher than an S, from one side to the other. Expressed notion, generated and grouped, active. So he's taking away your trash. And since I've gone into explaining what 29 is on the alphabet scale. It's based identity because it's 20, so it's 2-any, so it's based, not just base. And then 9, identified. So his birthday is December, as it lay, or AB, ab, the active base. 29, based identity. 1937, subject, constant to itself or unseen, generated and grouped. So if you wanted to subject something to be generated and grouped, so you're subjecting it, so you generated trash, and it's going to be grouped. Trash, waste, the waste management guy. See how this is? That's Harry Wayne Huizenga, or Huizenga. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but just see how awesome it is. That's his character. That's his role that he played. I figured I'd throw this individual in here since it's the question mark edition, and sometimes you gotta wonder and ask yourself the question, is that Jack Sparrow? I can't tell. I mean, just check it out and tell me this isn't magical when you really think about how the Word is God. Not the way we think God is, but how we all live within the mind of existence and in the mind of consciousness as a substance that we embody. It's so amazing. But anyway, I'm sure you've all heard of Steven Tyler, the man from Aerosmith. Steven Victor Tallarico. Now, if you're not talking, T-A-L-K, but you're T-Aller-Rico, it's not recalling, it's reference identified concept ongoing. And if you add that to Taller, it's like teller, but to all. Tallarico, on the air, in the air. Tallarico, Aerosmith. Steven Victor. So subject events, Stephen, or subject plus expressed vital expressed notion, Stephen, and then Victor, vital identified constant to itself plus ongoing reference, and then Tallarico, like I said, not talk, but taller, to holler, identified concept ongoing, or plus or to any, active, between two L's, ling, active reference identified, constant to itself ongoing. So was he not a well-known man who spoke to all through the air, identified concept ongoing, Tyler, plus vitally identified, as it lie, express reference to lore, or but Tyler, to put down agendas, but things through the air, just being himself, resonating with his name. March 26th, constant to itself or unseen, 26 from one side to the other, Z, explains his wildness, craziness, from high to low, crazy high pitches. 1948, subject, Dia, here, so from himself. See how it's also cool? It is magic, whether you see it or not. That's true magic, and you live in it. That's Steven Tyler. Our next entry is someone that many people will know, the voice that is spoken over many game systems every day, still. John Madden, the most popular voice in football. He was a head coach, he was an offensive tackle, and as I've said, he was like the world's most famous commentator. If you understand how I've been talking about the word in the letters, J is intense, ongoing here notion. John, not joining, but John. What's going on here? John, intense, ongoing here notion. Middle name, Earl, expressed active reference as it lies. E then A, then R, then L. So you're expressing the active thing and you're referencing as it lies. Coach, commentator, and then his last name being Madden, M-A-D-D-E-N, not M-A-T-T like a mat that you lay on the ground. The ground itself, the matting, not the fodder, the matting, the ground, not the stuff that has fallen on the ground like the fodder, father, the Madden, like the maiden, the mother, the earth. So he was commentating the manifested active to and from upon itself, dia, D-D, expressed notion, and then his birthday is April 4, which is the dia, to and from. 10th, J, intense. 1936, subjected, constant to itself, form, force, or familiar. So he's the coach, he was the offensive tackle, and he was the commentator. See how this all works out. John Earl Madden. I wanted to throw this in here since it's volume 27, and 27 is the question mark. So I just happened to look up Ask Jeeves. First of all, Jeeves, J-E-E-V-E-S, the name of a butler. Intense, expressed upon itself, vital, expressed subject. So it's ask to do or just ask. Jeeves, see what I mean? Now, just the people who founded it, Garrett Gruner, David Worthen, and Gary Chevsky. Gary Chevsky is the one who implemented it from his original software, and Gary is generate active reference vitally identified, and then you connect that to Chevsky. Unseen concept, here expressed, vital, subject, kinetic, vitally identified. So ask, and Gary is to generate something, and it would be a place to find answers. Now you have Garrett Gruner, generate active reference upon itself, expressed upon itself plus plus. Gruner is to generate the reference unit expressed notion expressed reference. And then David Worthen, or Wharton, not sure how you say it, dia active vital identified to and from, dia, David, the vital identified. And then plural active reference plus here expressed notion. The plural are therein. Ask. See how I'm saying these people perfectly align with their names and what they're doing. And since this was volume 27, the question mark, based generated, I thought you guys would think that was interesting if you've been following thus far. So we'll do the next guy. We're going to wrap this one up with Quentin Tarantino, a very famous director. His full name, Quentin Jerome Tarantino, birthday, March 27th, 1963. Now, he's always been known for having long dialogues and longer movies that go from scene to scene and have interesting cuts and wraparound stories. Think of Quentin, on cue, unit or underlying expressed notion plus identified notion. So Quentin, not to question, but to quint, not to quest, to on cue, notion plus identified notion. There's director, and it's what's happening. Jerome is intense, expressed reference, ongoing manifest expression. And then when you put that together with Tarantino, it's to rant plus identified notion ongoing. So long dialogues, directing from Quentin. Now you have plus active reference, active notion plus identified notion ongoing. If you know what territory is, we have Tarantino. So it's of storyline, not of physical territory. So he's on cue, directing, intense, expressed reference, ongoing, manifest, expressed. So that's Jerome. And then Tarantino, to rant, plus identified notion ongoing. And then his birthday being March, which is the third month, 3, unseen concept, but constant to itself, 3. 27, which is the volume we're on, the big question mark, happens to be Quentin, unseen concept, 3, 27, question mark. 1963 is 1963. It's saying active, identified, from form, force, or familiar, unseen concept, or constant to itself. So see how he's a writer, director, just, it's perfect. I had to put him in here because I do like a lot of the old movies that I've seen. Haven't watched any movies in a long time. You know, I'm still part of the world, and I enjoy things. But this is important stuff for us all to know, because if we ever get on the same page, a lot of changes can really be made if we just give a damn about each other. And just so you know, in case you haven't heard already, I give a damn about you. So, that's going to be it for this episode. And until next time, peace and God bless.